Hello and good evening to all of you. Good evening and welcome to Edukemy's YouTube channel. My name is Harsh Singh and in this video we shall discuss the current affairs and gazette discussion for 1st December 2021. Good evening to all of you friends. Good evening Sana. Good evening Sam. Hi Ashish. Welcome. Good evening Amlan. Hi Supriya. Hello Rajsekharan. Good evening to you. Hi Kriti. Hello Swajal. Hi Bhabani. Welcome to all of you. Let us start the discussion and we have quite a few interesting articles to cover today. So let's begin this. All right. Okay. So the hot selling articles in the market today, important ones are: one, National Court of Appeal. Now this is something that has been revived now. Right, the plan of executing National Court of Appeal on the Constitution Day was proposed by the Attorney General. We will understand what are the pros and cons of having a different court which is between Supreme Court and High Court. This is the first update article. The second one is Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action related to P5+1 and Iran. P5+1. So which is the +1 country? Can you please tell me that on comment section? We will understand then what is the detailing about this JCPOA. All right. The third one is related to FAME2 scheme. It had certain objectives. Has it been able to meet them or not? We will understand. FAME scheme is an important scheme of moving towards electrification and standardization of the vehicle industry in India. So we will understand the updates on that. This day in history has been dedicated to World AIDS Day, a disease that was discovered in the late 20th century and has created havoc, and we still do not have a vaccine for the same. Featured news for the day is on an important theme: online dispute resolution. Now there was a report presented by a government organization, and in this context we will understand what online dispute resolution means. How is it more advanced than ADR, alternate dispute resolution, and the traditional dispute resolution mechanisms? What are its advantages? What are the issues associated? How are we going ahead in this ODR format with respect to India specifically? So this we discuss in the featured news after the gazette discussion, current affairs discussion. All right, there we have some answers on that. All right, Ashish says Germany, Kriti, Germany, Amlan, Germany. Yeah, absolutely. Germany is one of the most advanced economies around the world. Many people who get through the Nobel Prize, they are from Germany, and Germany is the most advanced economy in European Union as well, right? So Germany is the P5+1 country here. So we will understand what are the negotiations in JCPOA. Image of the day is on the world's largest organism. Now, is it a flora species or fauna species? Flower or animal, right? That is the question. Terms and concepts. The terms and concepts that we deal with today are: one, Manodarpan. What is Manodarpan in news? The second one was National Mission on Cultural Mapping and Roadmap. So this was in PIB. Flycatcher Species and James Webb Space Telescope. We will understand each of them. Why in news? Editorials of the day. The three editorials that we discussed today are: first, India's demographic transition and interplay between various states, the northern and the southern states. What is the differentiating factor? India's informal economy. Another question on SBI report, whether the economy has actually converted into a formal structure or not. We will understand this and get into the criticism of the SBI report. The third one is on information and communication technology supply as far as the cyber attacks are concerned. And this is where I will not only deal with this short editorial from Hindustan Times, I will also show an answer on the same that I have written myself. So you will have an idea on how answers to be written, right? Case study of the day is on an initiative of how people are refurbishing the schools after lockdown. So let's begin the discussion. All right. Today's snapshots, flora species. Absolutely, it's a flora species, not an animal species, right? So the first snapshot is on National Court of Appeal. Now, if you have not known, let me make you aware, there are crores and crores of cases pending in Indian courts. As many as the 3 crore cases pending in the lower courts. Around lakhs of cases pending in the high courts, right? 50s of lakhs. And then we have around quite a few thousands of cases pending in the Supreme Court itself, right? I think that number is around 50,000 again, right? So 50,000 court cases pending in Supreme Court and around 50 lakh in the high courts and 3 crore cases pending in the lower courts. And if we want to streamline the process and execute faster as far as judiciary activism is concerned, then should we have more court of appeal, or should we have enabling mechanisms? For example, alternate dispute resolution mechanisms, online courts, e-courts. What are the facilities? In that, one proposal which was proposed a decade back, it has been revived again by the Attorney General of India. Attorney General would not speak on their own behalf, they would represent the opinion of the government. And the opinion is such that we should be able to place a court of appeal in between Supreme Court and High Court. So a court of appeal to be placed here, and this court of appeal will take up those specific cases which have come as an appeal from the High Court, but not all the kind of cases. For example, Supreme Court is the one which mediates between the central government and the state government. So it is the one which finally handles the cases between states or center and states. Supreme Court is the one which handles the cases which are related to constitution, interpretation of the constitution, right? So these are the kind of cases which only Supreme Court can handle, but a court of appeal can handle other civil matters, other cases which are related to the individual rights, right? Civil cases. So matrimonial disputes, rent control cases, these are the kind of cases which have also clogged the judgments in Supreme Court, and they can be handled by this court of appeal, right? So earlier there were suggestions by certain law commission as well that we might as well want to bifurcate the functions of Supreme Court, one handling legal cases and the other one handling specialized constitutional cases having constitutional bench, right? So this is where the agenda also can be put in between court of appeal. All right. So this is the thing in news for the last couple of days, right? There were articles present talking in favor of this court of appeal and against court of appeal as well. So the point in favor is very simple. We will be able to have a domain of court which can act on these kind of appeals, right? So we have spoken about those kind of appeals which can be entertained here. Supreme Court is already standard with, yes, 50,000 as I mentioned. 70,000 is the number of cases that Supreme Court has with itself as pending, right? And whenever there is a delay in justice, it is also synonymous to justice being denied. Justice delayed is justice denied, and therefore we have to serve justice in time, right? Supreme Court has a high load of appeal. It is the highest court of civil and criminal cases, and specialized cases come up to it. It can take up cases suo motu as well and delegate it to other courts or take it up itself. There have been increased number of public interest litigations. People have been on trying to help other people, have been putting up cases in front of Supreme Court, and it has had to accept those cases, and therefore it has seen a huge increase in spurt in the number of cases. In fact, there was an article I was reading, and it mentioned that during Corona times, although we have had the e-courts functional, but a lot of people are not aware about e-courts. Even the lawyers are not aware about it. People in rural areas are not aware about it. Small cities. Now, the issues that we have faced in education for small children, the same issues are applicable here also. Network connectivity, availability of 4G devices, availability of faster internet, those things are available, in question here as well. So, though we have had e-courts functional in some way or the other, the kind of pendency that has risen during these times, it has risen as much as 10 times. So if there were 50,000 cases which were getting in pendency previously every year, now the pendency is 5 lakhs in lower courts. So 10 times increase in pendency during Corona times. These are the facts. So in this time, can we solve it through various mechanisms? One mechanism is having increased number of days of participation of courts. So if there are holidays during summer vacation, winter vacation, that can pause for a while. Another way is increasing the number of judges in courts, ad hoc judges, additional judges in courts, filling up the number of vacant posts in the courts. Another one is making the courts function in 2 different sessions, morning and evening sessions, which does happen at various places. Another mechanism is this one that have been introduced here. So we can accordingly share the weight of our answer depending on the type of question asked. I have updated you with the material that has come up lately. Now, some of the people opine that this might not bring down the litigation number. It will only increase one additional process here, right? So if we have better quality of justice delivery at lower courts itself, it is very much possible there will be no appeal. Now, justice delivery is also dependent on other factors. For example, if we have a police case, a criminal case, just a small example, and if forensics have been taken care of very well, so all the kind of fingerprints, the analysis of blood analysis if it was available, so these kind of scientific developments, if police takes care of these things, then we have better evidence collection at the lower courts level itself, and the court might get into the accurate decision making at lower courts level only. So appeal might not happen in those cases. So it is about quality of justice delivery at lower courts. This is one of the opinions. All right. Okay, moving on to the second snapshot, and before that, good evening to Abhinav. Yes, Rajshekharan, digital divide, that is the word here. The second snapshot is on joint comprehensive plan of action, something that has been in news for quite a while. This is regarding Iran and how it has moved away from the mainstream, right? Iran until 1979 was a very, very big associate of USA. And when there was an Iranian revolution, after that the regime completely changed. And post that we have had a supreme leader in Iran, and they are handling the complete situation in Iran. There is a different precedent in Iran. So the whole political agenda in Iran is anti-USA these days for the last 40 decades. Now, what is update about Iran is that it was quite a decently developed country, and because of certain actions of Iran, it had been sanctioned around the world, especially by European Union and USA. Now, one of the actions that it took was regarding development of nuclear fuel, development of enriched nuclear fuel, uranium-235, right? So uranium-235 can be used as an input for various purposes. One, medical procedures, right? Another one could be energy creation, and another one could be creation of nuclear armaments. And this is where the developed countries are questioning Iran's judgment of creating nuclear armaments. Now, they are skeptical about Iran. In fact, many countries have produced nuclear weapons because of trying to pursue the peaceful policies, India being one of them, our country being one of them. But if we get into the details of the non-proliferation treaty, if we understand what have been the contentions of nuclear suppliers group and CTBT, we will understand in detail. We will be able to understand completely that this world politics revolves around P5 countries. They have themselves established and they have created nuclear weapons for themselves, and then introduced a non-proliferation treaty to be implemented since 1970, of which Iran has to be a part, India has to be a part, Pakistan has to be a part, but those P5 will not be disarming themselves. Although the non-proliferation treaty clearly mentions disarmament, peaceful use of nuclear technology as its important ingredients, important elements, but P5 are not ready to give up their nuclear arsenal, right? But they want that Iran does not develop this arsenal. Why? Because if Iran develops this arsenal, see, there are 2-3 different factionist groups in the Central Asia, West Asia region. One is Iran in itself, a different power, altogether different in itself, and the other one is Saudi Arabia, and the third one is Israel. Israel is another country just like India, and it has not declared, but it also has potent nuclear weapons. Saudi Arabia does not have nuclear weapons, but all these three countries, all these three associations or conglomerates, if you could say, these associations, like Saudi Arabia is leader of one of the associations. Similarly, Iran is another leader of associations. And what is the division? Iran is largely Shia dominated. Saudi Arabia is Sunni dominated. See, that is how they have enmity amongst themselves. And Israel is altogether different, away from the Arab countries. So these are the three important groups. If Iran develops nuclear weapons, there will be more vulnerability to the other countries in the region. It will lead to wider instability, right? And that is why probably other countries also might have to develop nuclear weapons. This is what happened with India's case also. When India developed the nuclear weapon, Pakistan was aside developing its own nuclear arsenal so that there could be balance of power between both the countries, right? So to be able to understand India's nuclear policy, all you got to type is nuclear doctrine, Edukemy. You will be able to find a feature article. We have discussed the complete one about India's nuclear program. What is India's nuclear policy? If it is first use or no first use, is it about making the other person only fearful or using it against somebody else? So we have discussed that completely. I have also discussed the previous year question on International Atomic Energy Agency, right? IAEA, right? So this is an important agency which conducts the investigations and surveys the nuclear facilities. So I will share both the links in the comment section after the video. You please watch these two videos to understand the international nuclear scenario. Very important one, understanding nuclear politics of the world. All right. So what has happened here is since 2015, these countries have been negotiating that Iran please give up enrichment of nuclear fuel, right? So that you might not be able to create the weapon grade uranium-235. Iran also agreed to it. Iran signed this. But in 2018, Mr. Trump, he said that he wants more stringent norms against Iran, more stringent norms of whatever kind of fuel it has created right now. So this is where the agreement, joint action plan, it had a fallout, and USA reimposed the sanctions on Iran. What kind of sanctions? Economic sanctions. So any country dealing with Iran, their assets will be sanctioned. India will not be allowed to trade with Iran in dollars. Many issues were there. So USA imposed sanctions on Iran. Along with that, European Union was still negotiating. But what Iran did was that Iran still continued to develop its uranium-235, enriching uranium-235 to the extent that it could have become weapon grade, to the level that, yes, it is being said in the international community that now Iran has got the potential to create weapon grade uranium as well already. But now, after change of power in USA, wisdom has finally dawned, and now all these stakeholders, Mr. Biden, along with the other European economies and Iran, they are ready to renegotiate on the same terms of 2015. But Iran says everything is redoable. I will start showing you all my places wherever we are conducting experiments, but just that we have to renegotiate on the primitive terms, and then you cannot go back on those terms, right? So this is what is the contention. This is a new crisis, and now we are trying to solve that crisis, right? So natural uranium contains very less amount of uranium-235. It contains larger proportion of U-238. But when we start to enrich them in the laboratories, highly enriched uranium for nuclear research reactors, and then weapon grade 90% of uranium-235, this is where it becomes more dangerous for the other countries around. All right. So this is the update, and the main idea is to prevent the revival of Iran's nuclear program. All right. The countries participating are P5, all the permanent 5 countries. I assume that you know all of them, plus one Germany along with Iran, right? So whatever I have explained to you, we have discussed that about Mr. Trump, Mr. Biden, and India, Iran re-assuming this program again. We've also understood the sanction relief, right? So they are in the process of relieving the sanctions against Iran, which will help in Iran's own development, right? Iran can diversify its economy. It can get into exporting of various products it creates. It will start importing as well. More economy means more rigor, more development in the region, right? So this is how Iran will, get itself streamlined, and joint comprehensive plan of action will become a success, right? So Iran has said everything is redoable provided we start working on the original agreement. So this is the update. All right. Good evening, Netra. Good evening. Sam says US was the first country to transfer nuclear technology to Iran. Raj says no first use policy. Absolutely. India has no first use policy. All right. So, all right. Then we have Babani says clever people. Absolutely. International politics is just about politics between friends, but just that these are big nations, just friends and people around us. But they are very big, very powerful. Amlan says U-235 is a highly graded uranium or not. Enrichment of uranium to U-35 makes it a graded uranium which is weapons grade, right? All right. Snapshot 3 is on FAME 2 scheme, right? So the full form of FAME is faster adoption and manufacturing of hybrid and electric vehicles. This scheme came up in the year 2015-16, right? So the prime idea was to move away from the conventional fuel towards the hybrid and electric fuel vehicles, right? So hybrid engines. Hybrid engines are those which might utilize the conventional fuel along with electricity, along with water, right? So electric vehicles are completely electric, and this has been the main agenda of the government to shift from the conventional to the hybrid and electric vehicles, right? So that is why FAME scheme was introduced. So finances were introduced, a lot of finances were given so that subsidies could be given to people if they are purchasing these kind of vehicles, so that public transport be made more economical as far as these kind of electric bus or hybrid transport is considered. This was the main agenda, but the news says that only 10% of the total earmarked funds have been used under FAME 2 scheme. Only 10% of that fund has been used, and the rest of the fund, though not used, but it comes off no vein to the economy completely. Now this is where we understand what was the prime agenda of FAME scheme, FAME 1 and FAME 2 scheme, right? So the idea was to develop technology. The fund was to be used to develop the technology, to create demand in the market, to have pilot projects and charging infrastructure. This was for FAME 1. Now one good example I would like to share with you about charging infrastructure. There are two kind of charging infrastructure for four-wheeler vehicles. So when we talk of LMV, light motor vehicle, right, the four-wheeler cars, in that there are two kind of infrastructure. One, I found out from one of the Tata brand showrooms. So one of the infrastructure is the one where you can charge the vehicle overnight. You place your vehicle for 8 hours with this connection and you are able to charge it. Now this will cost you say around 50, 60, 70,000 rupees for that plug to integrate and then charge your device with. 8 hours to charge. And then another establishment, if we purchase this is a fast charging one which will charge the vehicle in around 1 hour time itself. 1 hour, and the vehicle will be able to run for 250 to 300 kilometers. You know the cost of this device? This is available. This is not available also. This is short availability in the country, and this is available for 4 to 5 lakh rupees. How can an individual own this when this is so expensive, right? It can only be installed at places, workplaces, community mobilization, or just like petrol pumps and other places. Cannot we not have these charging infrastructure created in a way that it is economical for people? It is placed at various places, yes. And though funds have not been used, yet demand also did not get created, right? So this is something that is to be handled at the level of administration, which was not handled. This was the phase one of FAME scheme, right, up to 2019, and then 19 to 22 there was another part. Now if we did not implement the first part, how would we be able to scale up in the second part? Very, very natural, justified question. So while we talk of issues with the FAME scheme, these are the answers. While we talk of the agenda or objective of FAME schemes, those are the points. The same points, just to be presented in different way. So FAME 2 speaks of electrification of public transport, electrification. So while we can have these buses which run on battery, there are countries in Europe and USA as well, there the whole bus infrastructure is based on electric lines. So while the bus runs, it is just like a train. There is a complete electricity line cable running overhead the bus. So these are the kind of electric infrastructure that India also needs. We don't have. We have not established this anywhere. Subsidies were to be given, but subsidies are also mired into controversies. For example, one of the Tata vehicles, Tata Nexon, subsidy was being offered by Delhi government, and later the subsidy was reduced, right? These were the important things that we wanted, like usage of lithium-ion battery. Now this is something that we are already working on, but we have to import a lot of technology. We also have to import lithium from other places, right? India does not have a good resource for that. So these are the issues that relate with the FAME and FAME 2 scheme, right? Now these are the updates here. Moving ahead to this day in history. Amol asks, all right, we have Gulfam says, good evening Gulfam. PDF किस तरह प्राप्त होगा? PDF आपको मिलेगा edukemy.com की वेबसाइट पर, Edukemy की वेबसाइट पर. वहां पर आप रिसोर्स सेक्शन में जाएंगे. You will be able to find the current affairs, gazette, and then if you log in, just put in your basic details, name and phone number or email address, and you will be able to download this PDF, right? Amol says, is this current affairs from today's newspaper? All the editorials are from today's newspaper. However, yeah, World AIDS Day is today itself. FAME scheme has been in use for a few days. This nuclear restriction Iran program, yes, from today's newspaper. And the first one, that is on recommendations of Attorney General, it has been in use since the Constitution Day. Since the Constitution Day, the next day to it, it was in the newspaper. And since we had other articles to cover, that is why this got delayed a little, right? But we do keep spotting these kind of articles which have significance in the main examination, right? So while we talk of these snapshots updates, they can actually act as a complete answer in itself, or provide a good chunk of current affairs updates on that answer. There are many answers which you will be able to write completely on these kind of facts and data itself, right? Okay, today's day is World AIDS Day, right? This disease was discovered in the year 1984 and it has created havoc around the world. We have not been able to find an effective vaccine for it. However, we have created antiretroviral drugs, right? So these are very powerful drugs which can delay the onset of the deterioration of multi-organ failure in the individual. And these antiretroviral drugs, they are also being repurposed now in case of COVID complicated cases, right? So this is the significance of World AIDS Day. Spread awareness. There are multiple ways in which AIDS spreads. It is not only sexual transmission, this is also through injection. There are multiple other ways, as well, through which AIDS spreads. And NACO, National AIDS Controls Organization, is the one which is pioneering AIDS control in our country. And African countries are the ones which are mostly inflicted. In fact, south of Africa, countries like Botswana, South Africa, Namibia, they are mired with the problem of AIDS. All right, no vaccine discovery as of now. Feature news of the day is on online dispute resolution, right? So Niti Aayog is the organization which has released a report on online dispute resolution, how India wishes to carry forward this mechanism, how is it more advanced than the traditional dispute resolution and alternate dispute resolution. So this is one of the beautiful pictographs which we picked up from the report. Alternate dispute resolution, but online goes way beyond. We will understand what are its advantages, what are the issues with it, online mechanisms, what are the issues with it at international levels, and what is the way forward, right? In the featured news after this current affairs discussion. All right, moving ahead to image of the day, the flora species that we're talking of. Sam asks, what happened to Tesla? Tesla is also researching on the automation or these kind of vehicles which are running on battery and hybrid fuels. However, there are organizations which have come up and they are more advanced. So I'm forgetting the name of the company, but an American company itself has produced a vehicle which can run as many as 800 kilometers in one go, and this is a battery vehicle, 800 kilometers. There's another organization which has come up saying their car can run 500 kilometers in one go, and 80% charging will happen within 20 minutes. Within 20 minutes, 80% charging of the vehicle will happen. So this is the kind of technology we are expecting will provide revolution. But if you know the cost of these kind of vehicles, they are the first one, 800 kilometers, is like it is in multiple of crores, right? So something we cannot afford right now. Image of the day, these are concept cars. Image of the day, today's image is on world's largest organism. This is called as Pando. So what is this? This is a grove. This is called as clonal grove. And this organism has spread in acres and acres of land. It has attached itself through roots, and this is growing in Utah province in USA, right? Now this has been only growing, but it is vulnerable to climate change. It is vulnerable to goat species and other species, deer species, which eat leaves from this plant, right? So this plant is now called as Pando, right? So this is the large aspen tree. This is the update about this particular plant, right? Found in USA. Terms and concepts. The first term that we discussed today is Manodarpan. What is Manodarpan? Now this is a program in which more awareness is being raised regarding mental health awareness. So this program is going to help not only children, but their parents and teachers and counselors, all of them, because this is the complete ecosystem in which teachers participate. So their engagement and engagement of teachers and counselors also becomes important. we had also studied one important program that was initiated by the government, and that was in the aspirational districts, where around 1 lakh teachers, 1 lakh counselors were trained. What was the name of that program? Could anybody tell me the name of that program? A Hindi word, and it was an important word because these are the kind of keywords we use while we talk of children, while we talk of education, while we talk of reforms in governance. So why are they introducing that program in aspirational districts only to begin with? These are the districts which aspire to become good, right? So 130 odd districts, they aspire to become better in performance. These are the districts, some of them, many of them affected because of Naxal issue, and the government is trying to empower the children in these districts to begin with, so that they become aware and they get away from these kind of menace. In fact, if they have been affected because of Naxal violence, Naxal issues, parents died, etc., they are orphans, so they need more empowerment, and that is the name of the scheme. Could anybody name that scheme? That becomes important. Now, similarly, we have a Manodarpan initiative also, side effects of COVID, right? We have, there's been an increase of death percentage among students. We know that, we have studied about this in one of the featured news, right? And there is a strong linkage between performance of a student and the impact of the mental health issues. Not only that, various surveys talk about increase in number of mental health issues with children because of COVID impact, right? Increase in anxiety issues, increase in fear while they are ready to face examination. They do not know about uncertain future, right? So these are the issues we are dealing with, and that is why this initiative has come up, right? So what apart from this initiative is happening here? So web page which has do's and don'ts, right? Some webinars and audio visuals will be also conducted through Manodarpan. All right, put this as examples, no, wherever you have to write an answer. These are the examples or cases that you can put forth. All right. Sinhavani, good evening to you. Good evening. National Mission on Cultural Mapping and Roadmap. Now, this is through Ministry of Culture that it is happening. This was present in the PIB, Press Information Bureau. And the news is that the country wants to map the culture of our country, the places from where those people originate, the kind of traditional practices which are important, so that we are able to fund them, so that we are able to rejuvenate them, so that we are able to commercialize them or market them well, right? So this National Mission on Cultural Mapping becomes a part of paper 1 then, right? Part of paper 1 where we deal with India's culture, right? So this is an important mission where we are trying to preserve the rich Indian art and cultural heritage. So be it dancing, singing, or puppetry, any art form practice that we do, be it painting, sculpture, all of them are preserved. They will be mapped and they will be preserved. They will also be funded accordingly. Awards will be also given according to the kind of performance. So what is the idea here? Scouting programs. We are trying to hunt the talent. We are trying to hunt those kind of cultural practices which are now going almost extinct. You should also note down this program. Hamari Sanskriti, Hamari Pehchan Abhiyan, right? So to be able to recognize our culture, this becomes valuable. All right. So we will also have a website where we are showcasing this kind of talent and registering also database of it. Geotagging, see, this is GIS mapping, GIS, geotagging. Use these words, no? Very, very popular words these days, phrases. Flycatcher species. These are the bird species which are going to become more vulnerable during times to come. More vulnerable. Right now they are not as vulnerable. They are least concerned species in IUCN list. But when they reside in Western Ghats, an endemic region, a region with endemic plants, flora and fauna species, then their vulnerability to climate change becomes more than required. So Western Ghats and Eastern Himalayas are called as biodiversity hotspots regions, right? So these are those areas which have been earmarked around the world, and they are especially vulnerable. They are called as hotspots because there is increased biodiversity present there. However, there is more vulnerability because of climate change, because of human interference, destruction in these places. So the definition of biodiversity hotspot is that those places should have 0.5% of the species or 1500 species as vascular plants, specific plants. And the second criteria is that 70% of the primary vegetation should get lost. What is the primary vegetation? Whatever was growing in that place during the times of, during primitive times. And later, if agriculture replaced it, if we started cultivating some of the fruits or crops or trees, those are the secondary vegetation. So primary vegetation 70% should be lost, and they should have 0.5% or 1500 species should be vascular plants. These are the two criteria, and Western Ghats falls there. Western Ghats therefore becomes vulnerable to climate change, and these are the species which will see as much as one third of loss in population. Which are the two species? We are talking of black and orange flycatcher and Nilgiri flycatcher. So both of them are found around the Nilgiri area itself, right? Around shola trees. Shola trees themselves are very few, and therefore there is vulnerability to these species as well. All right, do remember the names. So how can a question be asked here? I assume a question could be asked about what is flycatcher species related to, which area is it found in, right? Very simple questions, but yes, questions have been asked about this previously. Similar kind of questions have been asked. Okay, the fourth term in news is James Webb Space Telescope. Now this is the space telescope which is going to replace, which has already replaced Hubble Space Telescope, right? Now these telescopes are not placed on Earth, they are placed in the space, and they are to explore the space. So one of the programs of NASA called as Deep Space Network, Deep Space Program, is about exploration of space and life and all the terrestrial objects beyond Earth. So after Hubble telescope, James Webb telescope is the one which is going to conduct these kind of research. So this is already started to look for the first formed galaxies after the Big Bang, right? So after Big Bang, one of the galaxies formed was the Milky Way, and Milky Way got formed around how many billion years before now? See, Big Bang happened around 15 billion years back, and to my understanding, the formation of the galaxy, our galaxy, was 5 to 7 billion years back, right? And we are looking at the formation of the first galaxies around 15 billion years back. This is where the James Webb telescope will have a high resolution spectrometer. It will search deep into the the space 1.5 million kilometers away. See, that is the kind of it is extent we are talking of. So this is not only conduct these kind of surveys, this will also be able to find about the origin of the whole universe, right? So when it studies these dust clouds, it will be able to understand what has it led to, how the these various galaxies, constellations of stars, they have emerged, how have they evolved, and this will be able to also predict what will be the future of Milky Way galaxy, accordingly the future of our solar system, and then the Earth, right? So very curious scientists these are, very curious scientists, and they want to understand what is the future of humankind through this. See, there is a purpose. Purposefully I use the word humankind other than mankind. Humankind is gender neutral, gender sensitive. This is what we should be using in our written exams also. So when we speak with the successful candidates, many of them write in the gender neutral term when they give examples. They don't say his, right? They use their, or even if they are male, the answer is written as she. So there are various ways one can write by being gender sensitive or being proactive towards women's support. Okay, so using the words like batter instead of batsman, right? There are females also playing the game. Now getting to the editorials, the 3 editorials that we discussed, and along with that comes a very beautiful answer that I had created. We'll show that to you. So the first one is on demographic transition challenge in our country. Let's discuss this editorial first. Now, as we have understood the data from NSSO, right, one of the surveys. So what we have understood here is National Family Health Survey. National Family Health Survey, that the total fertility rate in India average has dropped down to 2. But there is a disparity here. The North Indian states have reflected a higher total fertility ratio, and the South Indian states have reflected a lower total fertility ratio. But the best part is that both of them are in the declining trends. I had shown this to you in one of the snapshots, how the trend has declined in Bihar also. From 3.4, the total fertility ratio in Bihar has also come down to 3. So this is a very good indicator for Indian states, northern and southern both. Southern states have gone to the range of total fertility ratio 1.7 to 1.8, and this is similar to an advanced country, Sweden. I have also explained the concept of total fertility ratio, right? Where a female, if she has got 2 children, one male and one female at an average, this is the total fertility ratio of 2. If she has got 3 children, then at an average speaking, 1.5 male and 1.5 female child. So in case female child is more, she is the one which will give birth to further children. So if we have more female children, we will have more birth. Therefore, if we have one female child to one female or one family, this is very good, because this will lead to replacement ratio, right? Replacement of the population. But since we have a huge young population which is due to getting married also, so many of you are due to getting married, so this will lead to increased number of children in the coming times. So population will not decrease, but definitely it will get stabilized in the coming times. Now, but there is an issue here. The southern states are more advanced as far as population control is concerned. We have seen this through the TFR data itself. In case this is happening, how are the southern states going to serve their domestic demands, human resources, labor resources? Southern states are also more prosperous than the northern states. They are already dependent on the northern states for migrant population, which serves the southern states. Look at Kerala, look at Tamil Nadu, look at Karnataka. Not only from northern states, but northeast states also go and serve in those places. Now, the editorial highlights very, very important thing here. It says that if the population is getting into replacement ratio, there will be more aging population. If aging population is high, dependency ratio will be high. What is dependency ratio? We have discussed this. Let me again tell you. Dependency ratio is the proportion of people who are dependent on the working age population. So in case there is a child less than the age of 14 or an elder who is greater than the age of 65, both the people, the small children, they are dependent in the family because of economy, and elderly, they are again dependent on the working age population. So these people, right, the proportion of these people who are dependent on the working age population is the dependency ratio. And dependency ratio in India is almost 50%. World Bank says this. So if we have higher dependency ratio, this will put more pressure on the working age population, and especially the migrant workers, right? So this will be a challenging transition, especially for the pioneering states like Kerala, like Tamil Nadu, because they are doing well here in this parameter, but they will need to have more migrant population to support the economy here. If you look at, however, if you interestingly look at the Finance Commission devolutions to various states, Finance Commission has got the duty of dividing the funds between center and state governments. Center, how much it should get, state government, how much it should get. And in state government also, various state governments will get money depending on various parameters. One parameter is fiscal discipline. Another parameter is how much of greening of the economy we are doing. What is the vegetation cover? Another parameter is the population control, demographic, population control, demography. So when we look at the Finance Commission devolutions, or when we look at delimitation commission, I hope you understand what delimitation commission does. It delineates the constituencies in various states before the elections. So the delineation has been frozen since 1971. Delineation happens inside the states, but in northern states, since the population is growing at a faster rate than the southern states, the population per constituency is high there, and northern states suffer. So the editorial goes on to say that if we want to have this ratio only, stabilizing ratio, then we should not put these conditions on the northern states, and they should not be penalized because they are effectively working towards the development of economy itself. But if we want to follow a policy of China, that is curtailing down the population further, then we can continue to penalize the northern states. So this is important highlight of this editorial, the crux. Moving on to the second one. The second editorial for today is on India's informal economy, which has not shrunk. This is what the editorial speaks of very rationally. It says that the SBI report, which says that informal economy has shrunk from 50% to just 20%, 15 to 20%. This is completely farce. This is not possible. The criteria on which SBI report is based is a different criteria, but what the practical reasoning says is something different. So while we want to speak of the gross value added through increased digital payments and employment route, our consumption has increased. So gross value added is one of the parameters on which SBI report is based. But if we see in the complete economic system, right, the proportion of people who are working in informal economy, that has not decreased. Although the gross value added may have increased from the formal sector. There could be various reasons for that. The formalization of economy has happened. Increased number of formal players have taken over the jobs of informal economy. That is also possible. There are various proofs of it. One proof is that if India was to have this kind of transition, 50% to less than 20% of informal economy, if this was to happen, India would have become one of the miracle economies, even better than Southeast Asian countries and even better than most of the Latin American countries. That has not happened here. So this is one. We have only registered people online. We have only registered people on the e-Shram portal, 10 crore registrations, and we are saying that we have converted them into formal economy. If vegetable vendor is selling through Paytm, we have assumed that that person is under social security coverage. Do they have insurance? Do they have life insurance? Do they have pension cover? They don't have. Government has promised these services, but they are not available to them right now. So we cannot effectively call those people as becoming a part of formal economy. The report again, this editorial again says, it talks very, very pinchingly on the informalization of the workforce, the contractual labor system. The contractual labor, it says, this system has been designed to act as a gray area between formal and informal sectors. If there is an Ola cab worker and if they're accepting payments only through Paytm, it does not mean that they're a part of the formal setup. It does not mean that. So this is a good example it has given. It says that the economy is moving towards contract labor system, but this is not to be considered as formal system, right? So are they covered under provident fund, gratuity, right? So when they retire, should be able to get some fund, that is gratuity. Maternity benefit, do they have it? No, they are not having it. So why do we call them formal workforce, right? So these are the important pinching points. And the editorial also says that after COVID has struck us, this has been the time when more people have moved into agriculture, and there have been lesser participation of people in the formal workforce, lesser participation. The employment has gone down here, but the proportion in the GDP of formal structure has risen. So I remember having spoken of this in previous editorials, where the bigger companies have taken over the work of smaller companies also. So this is a very bad form of formalization that has happened, where people have not become a part of the formal economy. However, economy itself has become more formal in nature, right? So this is the update from here. One good example of this is the construction sector. Construction sector is said to be one of the formal sectors, but the people working in construction sector, they are informal. See, so this is a good example of it. Present this as an example, right? Okay, the third one. Before that, Amlan says Bal Bandhu scheme. It was a different name, Amlan. Netra, 14 billion years away from today, Milky Way. Is that so? All right. Yes, I know that 15 billion years back was the time when the solar system, when the Big Bang happened, right? And the solar system got formed 5 billion years back. But Milky Way, we will have to check again. All right. The third editorial is on a multi-pronged approach to protect the information communication technology as far as cyber attacks are concerned. So what has the government done when we see increased amount of cyber attacks now in India? So government has started to collaborate with countries like Singapore, Japan, Malaysia, Australia, many countries. This is one thing that we are doing, understanding their technology and taking them for our own, welfare. Indian citizen assistance for mobile privacy and security project. Now this is one of the projects which has been launched by the National Security Council. This has been launched so that we may be able to create such kind of interface, application interface, where which protects our data, our security, our privacy, all those things, right? So one important mention has also been given to critical information infrastructure, right? We have covered what are the kind of critical information infrastructure that India has, what is the meaning of critical information infrastructure. Just type this word Edukemy on YouTube, you will find a complete feature news on this. These are the kind of infrastructure which, because without which there will be complete and massive failure of governance in the country. So we are talking of energy systems, we are talking of financial systems, we are talking of defense systems, we are talking of all systems which are integral for the running of Indian democracy, right? So protecting of information communication technology of the critical information infrastructure, right? These are important. This is where the editorial was a small one from Hindustan Times, but this is where I had written an answer previously. I would like to show you how an answer should look like. Now, this is a 2-page answer, which I always keep speaking of. UPSC will demand answers for around 150 words, mostly 150 words answer will be expected from you for 10-marker question. And what do you have to do here is structure your answer. So while finally you get into answer writing, you have to think about the whole answer beforehand. And as the toppers say, as the people who have successfully gotten through the exam, they say, you can do only 2 things in the examination. One is only one thing in the examination. Ya to haath chalao, ya to dimag chalao. Either the mind works or the hand works. So better ensure that the mind works beforehand, before the examination, so that we have every point. None of the points will get manufactured in the examination room. We can only have the time to assimilate them, create them immediately, and then put them down. That is the amount of time we get if we want to attempt 18 questions or 19 questions or possibly 20 questions if we know all in the limited time we have and in the limited word limit we want to write. So the question has been on question I've written here. Okay, before getting into the question, let me show you the structure of it. The structure is introduction, and then some components here in the body, 5 pointers, and then another imagery here, some form of image representation here you can see, and then a conclusion here. So this grabs the attention of the examiner, how there are some words which have been put in blocks. There are some places which have been tried, we have tried to show through images. So this is kind of a model answer which one can emulate, which one can use or try to represent in their own ways. Question is, there has been a 3 times increase in the cyber attacks in India lately. Discuss the reasons for the same and mitigation strategies. All right. So this is where we introduce our answer by giving some data here. So when we talk of data in feature news or articles, this is the kind of data you got to represent. Not only on cyber security, you should have data about Indian economy's present status. Present doesn't mean quarterly or monthly status, yearly status, right? For example, if economy has bounced back at 8% of growth level, this is a good data. Then what is the World Bank saying about Indian economy? We just had a data on World Bank, right? Speaking about 50% dependency ratio. Keep these kind of things. Whenever we talk of silver economy, now we will keep talking about silver economy. We have spoken about it. This kind of data you can put, dependency ratio, total fertility ratio. You can put these kind of data in context in the introduction, right? And then reasons for increasing cyber attacks. See, and then after every reason I have explained. After every reason, I have explained with an example as well. So while you look at the reason of less secure digital networks, example is e-commerce business, home-based business, less secure networks. The second one is hasty transition of small and medium business. Example, increase in ransomware attacks. Third one, inadequate cyber protection of e-governance. This is where I have given an example of IRCTC. Right, Pune, Pimpri Chinchwad Municipal Corporation, Air India website. Then we have the road structured organization. What is that name? The National Highway Authority. All their websites getting hacked. Right. So Air India, new form of warfare against the emerging economies, hacking Air India database. So every point, and after that, an example of the same. Right. So this is how we reinforce the understanding. And this is the second part: mitigation strategies. Different strategies: innovative architecture, institutional presence, critical information infrastructure, and preventive measures. See, so this is for personal prevention, right? Individual. This is institutional presence, innovative architecture, and then critical information infrastructure protection. See, this is how we try to score marks, and examiner will definitely get impressed with an answer like this. This is the idea, to be able to create answer on these lines. All right. So whatever we do, whatever current affairs or traditional thing that we are reading, it will eventually boil down to how good our answer is, how good these 80 answers are in GS paper, 80 answers in GS paper, and then 25 or 30 more plus 25 more in our optional paper. We just write these good answers and then we are we will be into what we want already, right? So these are the 3 editorial discussions, and if you like this initiative, do share some love on us, blessings on us through likes, comments and shares. Let's come on to the case study right now. Today's case study is on an initiative for better school education. You know what happened after the lockdown of the schools for more than 17 months? The infrastructure in schools got dilapidated. The paintings were worn out, the ceiling came down, the fans were not running, there were cobwebs all around, and the school had to have a better infrastructure so that students feel motivated to come back. This was the situation not only in private schools, and imagine the situation that would have been in government schools. So this is where some champions came up, right? Some champions who said, okay, all right, we will also get into painting of the school infrastructure, cleaning of the school infrastructure. So they started, these couple of people, Rakesh, Ramesh and Sanjay, they started an NGO called as Ride for Cause, right? And they revamped the school infrastructure, they painted the walls. All this has actually improved the presence of students in the schools and the quality of education that they are receiving there. They have also contacted a toy manufacturing company so that they are able to incorporate some toys so that student not only enrollment but retention becomes very strong, right? So this is the case study, a beautiful case study, right? You can put them down. What is the format in which you put these case studies? Small case study, put a title and 3 or 4 points about this case to be mentioned here. Name the NGO as well. Don't let it be abstract, right? So this is how you can use these kind of case studies. All right. So Amlan says my handwriting looks like yours, sir. All right. Then probably it is your answer I've stolen from you. No dear, this is my handwriting. Sam says power systems. Okay. Raj Shekharan says good and useful session. Thank you, sir. All right. Thank you very much to everybody. We will move down quickly to the next session, that is on the featured news for today. An important news on today, that is what we are going to discuss in the featured news in a very short while, 2 minutes from now. All that I would request you all to do is share some blessing through likes, comments and shares. Thank you for watching. Please creating short notes. Thank you very much. In case there are doubts, questions, please look up, point it in your comment section. And also, I will put down these 2 important videos that I spoke on nuclear issues, nuclear policy of India and the international nuclear politics. Please do watch them as well, right? Very important videos. They are going to form a part of your understanding, your mains exam, pre-exam necessarily. So please do watch them. Thank you very much. Thank you, Kriti. Thank you, Ashish. Thank you, all of you.